Welcome to Second Sunrise Stories. Relax and enjoy our captivating tales. If you love what you hear, please like, comment, and subscribe to help us bring you more incredible stories. My husband cheated, so I divorced him. As a full-time housewife, even though I was kicked out of the house, I had to fight for custody of my son. I devoted everything to get him through college, but he turned around and went back to his ex-husband to claim credit. Even if my body was rotting, he wouldn't look back. Reliving this life, I returned to the day of the divorce. My son threw a bowl at me, screaming, "If you want to divorce, then divorce. Don't drag me into it, you damn poor woman." I stared at him for a long time, then suddenly smiled coldly. "Fine, I won't take you with me." After the college entrance exam, my son was accepted into a prestigious university. He immediately ran happily to my ex-husband's house to share the good news. I lay bedridden with no one to care for me. Before I died, I called him and said I was dying. "What does your death have to do with me? You made me suffer for 3 years. You deserve to die." The neighborhood committee couldn't contact my son until the funeral. "Brandon, do you still want to go to college? If not, I'll report your case to the school." Only then did my son reluctantly come to collect my ashes. The neighbor angrily pointed at him and scolded, "Your mother worked day and night at a stall for 3 years to support your education. You're truly an ungrateful bastard." My son's face was defiant as he argued back, "My father is a big businessman, my stepmother is a senior executive, and my grandmother loves me. Why would I need her? Her exhaustion to death is her own fault." My soul twisted in anger in the air, shouting at his face, "You bastard. Blind in eyes and heart. If they really loved you, they would have calculated to let your mother get custody of you." My son turned away, ignoring me. He was impatient as he carried the urn away. Actually, even when I was alive, he never listened to anything I said. I watched helplessly as he walked out of the residential area, looked left and right, then threw the urn into the trash can. Finally, he even dusted off his hands as if throwing away something filthy. "Haha, now no one's controlling me. Brothers, let's play games." He quickly took out his phone and logged into Honor of Kings. At this moment, I was more heartbroken than death itself. I couldn't even cry anymore. I didn't know what I was still hoping for. I just watched him play game after game until it got dark, until I saw him frown with a pale face. I thought he finally realized he no longer had a mother. But he just patted his stomach in dissatisfaction and complained, "Why hasn't Grandma called me yet? I'm starving to death." I was completely dead inside. The maternal love in me dissipated. I slowly calmed down. Actually, I had long known about my son's dissatisfaction with me. In 11th grade he secretly wanted to buy a game skin for over 400 yuan. I disagreed. He went crazy, pushing and hitting me. "It's all your fault. If I were with Dad, he would buy me the skin. What can you do without money?" I was pushed into the corner of the table and bled. He didn't look back and ran away. I held my wound and searched for him all night. The next day, he wore new clothes and new shoes, proudly showing off to me that his ex-husband had bought him 10 skins. Shortly after the midterm exam, he didn't have enough points to get into the key high school. I suggested he repeat a year and I would study with him. "I won't repeat. It's too embarrassing to die." He went to find his ex-husband again. His ex-husband readily agreed and got him into a high school with a bad reputation. My son came back triumphantly to show off to me, saying only his father could solve problems for him. But he didn't think about how in the next 3 years of high school, without me devoting all my energy to watch over his studies, with that trashy school and weak foundation, how could he even touch the edge of a vocational college, let alone get into a prestigious university? But my sacrifices always lost to the small favors from my ex-husband's family. From beginning to end, my son only felt that I was hindering him from living a happy, wealthy life. I felt sorry for myself, sorry for my sacrifices being thrown away like garbage. I wasn't willing to accept that my short life had ended because of this unfilial son. I thought I would carry this resentment to reincarnation. Unexpectedly, angry shouts suddenly came to my ears. "If you want to divorce, then go divorce. Don't drag me into it, damn it." I jerked my limbs stiff. Sharp ceramic shards on the floor pierced my soul. It hurt so much. I stared blankly at my son's oily, acne-covered adolescent face, slowly realizing I had been reborn. After my son's high school entrance exam, I discovered David Harrison's affair and resolutely wanted a divorce. God gave me another chance to choose. My palm immediately warmed up, burning hot, my heart pounding violently. I suppressed my excitement and calmly said, "I have no job, no income. The court won't award you to me." David Harrison's face turned fearful. "Sarah, what do you mean? Didn't you find a job paying 8,000 yuan a month?" I laughed coldly inside. I recalled in my previous life, occasionally hearing colleagues gossip at the company about how vicious manager Chen's intentions were, helping the wife find a job while also helping win custody, killing two birds with one stone, then taking her daughter away to live a clean, comfortable life. How brilliant! Only then did I understand that Amanda Chen was the HR manager of my company. I had been schemed against. For my livelihood, I gritted my teeth and endured the humiliation, not confronting her. But Amanda Chen burned bridges. Within days, she used the excuse that my work ability and position didn't match to fire me. People who didn't know the truth thought I had connections, applauding and praising. At that moment, I swallowed the bitter pill helplessly. Now my son rushed forward, baring his teeth and claws to attack me. "No matter what tricks you try, I won't go with you." "Nonsense, 8,000 a month, who pays a nanny that much?" I smiled, feeling cold inside. Under the influence of my mother-in-law and David Harrison, since childhood, a mother like me was the most useless and worthless in the house, just a nanny worth 3,000 yuan. I grabbed his hand and gently flung it away, smiling without really smiling. "Your father was joking. He and Aunt Amanda have good economic conditions. I'm relieved if you stay with them." My son was momentarily stunned. "Aunt Amanda and I get along very well. She understands me, likes me, understands my gaming life, likes to give me skins, praises my good gameplay, says I have a promising future." I was too lazy to argue. David Harrison was flustered and annoyed, pacing around. "Sarah, didn't you say when Amanda has another child, the three siblings' relationships will be complicated and not easy to live together? What do you mean now?" He still harbored beautiful dreams of getting rid of me and my son to live his new life, even dreaming of me leaving empty-handed. I sincerely apologized. I was narrow-minded before. "I'm sorry, I trust you'll love Brandon. Amanda can also handle things fairly." David Harrison choked up. My son's expression was like, "You finally know your place." I calmly smiled and wrote a few strokes on the divorce agreement. "David Harrison, I have all the evidence of you and Amanda's affair. I don't need the house or car. I just want 800,000 yuan in cash." I didn't have time to argue with them. I just wanted to quickly get what I could. In a few years our house would be worthless. David was caught off guard by my decisiveness, still wanting to use our son to trap me. I just calmly threw out a sentence. "Don't you claim to love your son the most? Why haggle over this small amount with me?" These were the words he used to shut me up in my previous life. Now I wanted to see how he would maintain his elegant facade in front of our son. My son didn't care at all, interjecting, "Dad, let this old woman go. Anyway, you and Aunt Amanda can make money again. But add one condition to the agreement: she's not allowed to visit us. Consider it buying peace with money." David thought of something and smiled sinisterly, threatening, "Sarah, I know you hate me and want to spite me. I can pay this money, just don't change your mind." I glanced at him and directly signed my name on the document. David instinctively wanted to grab my pen. I sighed and said to my son, "Brandon, looks like your father doesn't value you that much." My son's face changed as he stood up questioning. "Dad, what do you mean? Hurry up and get rid of her." David frowned, still hesitating. I knew he was reluctant about the money. After all, this was all the savings in our household. "Haha, then don't blame me for being ruthless with your sweetheart." Speaking of my job, I think I heard it was introduced by someone surnamed Chen. How did a housewife with no work experience get an offer from the design department head of Fisher Corporation? I should go ask the boss. David Harrison's face immediately changed, cutting me off. "Fine, let me think for a few days," I laughed coldly. What? Need to ask for her opinion before we're even through the door. In a few more days, I might not have just these conditions. When I said this, David naturally was afraid to call Amanda Chen for help. With our son as his teammate, he finally agreed to my conditions. I originally planned to escort him to the Civil Affairs Bureau for procedures, but unexpectedly Amanda Chen called saying there was trouble. The father and son didn't bother with me anymore and hurriedly left. Their backs looked quite embarrassed. Haha, anxious now. I wasn't in a hurry. In my life, my only weakness was my son, but not in this life. Amanda Chen wanted me to take my son away in exchange for their family of four's happy life. Just like in my previous life, no way. As soon as they left, I packed my things and left home. Non-stop, I began my new life. Actually, in that moment of rebirth, I had already carefully thought through my career plan. In my previous life, because of Amanda Chen, I entered corporate life in my 30s without work experience. I couldn't compete with young people and ended up being laughed at and fired. Going to set up a stall. In a few years, many college students would emerge to steal my rice bowl. They were willing to give up their figures, selling trendy and delicious food with sweet tongues. I could only make money in the gaps by going earlier than them, staying up later, hustling between stalls to sell all the food that day, then come back to review and check homework with my son. That's why my body weakened so quickly. Now I understand myself and know how to use my advantages. I'm a full-time housewife, still considered young in this field, and graduated from a prestigious university. Whether childcare or housework, I don't discriminate between heavy and light work, and I'm hardworking. My shortcomings immediately become advantages. I believe I can build a reputation in this industry. In my previous life, when I was at the company, I heard that CEO William was a single father with a daughter about to enter high school. He announced throughout the company that he wanted everyone to recommend a reliable senior housekeeper who could both take care of their daily life and tutor the child's homework. The salary he offered was also very attractive. As long as one could pass his interview, the monthly salary could reach $50,000. After being fired, I also intended to try. Unfortunately, as soon as my son heard I wanted to be a nanny, he made a fuss threatening suicide, saying I was embarrassing him. Moreover, I hadn't touched textbooks for many years. How was I qualified to tutor high school students? But now these weren't problems. I was full of confidence as I called William, claiming to be someone from the company looking for him. He asked me to introduce myself. The year I took the college entrance exam, I scored 652 points. With the current exam papers, I guarantee I won't score lower than this. I spoke slowly but couldn't help feeling bitter inside. That year, I not only excelled academically but after entering university, I was also a campus beauty. Going with David from school uniform to wedding dress, being a housewife for over 10 years, I had long ago become old and fat, no longer glorious like before. After my son's college entrance exam, I quietly took out the test papers to test myself at home, and actually scored 60-80 points. Every point was filled with deep love for my son, but he threw it away like a rag. As for tutoring style, you can directly test this then. I'm not flustered at all. Even that unruly son of mine, I still got him into a key school. I don't believe there's any student I can't improve. Mr. Fisher asked me to introduce keeping experience. I smiled bitterly. Being a housewife for 16 years, does that count? My specialty is cooking vegetables while holding a child in one arm, feeding with another arm, and cleaning with yet another, and so on. I can skillfully make formula and change diapers in my sleep. When necessary, I have the ability to stay up all night serving a sick, crying child. Mr. Fisher was amused by me. Ms. Mitchell, you're very humorous. I can tell you're truly hardworking. I also laughed, tears coming out. Isn't that right, Mr. Fisher? Don't underestimate women who come from the household battlefield. William's first impression of me wasn't bad. He arranged to meet in person to talk. Although we chatted happily, he still showed he needed to consider a bit more. I knew I definitely didn't meet all his requirements. In the end, he tactfully declined. My daughter is about to enter 10th grade. If you had certificates like nutrition expert, health management, or family services, I think you'd be more competitive. My hope momentarily rose again. I hope Mr. Fisher can give me another chance then. After hanging up, I immediately enrolled in courses for certificates, massage classes, childcare classes, even pharmacy courses. On the other hand, I also signed up for gym classes and yoga classes, 500 yuan per hour for private lessons. I didn't hesitate to sign up. Now I've learned to invest in myself. Living to this point, I finally know that relying on anyone is not as good as relying on yourself. Besides, I'm now a housewife spending David Harrison's money. Not spending it would be a waste. David Harrison quickly couldn't stand it anymore and called me to come back for the divorce. As soon as I got home, I knew today would be a fierce battle. My mother-in-law, who was always active in the community square, was rarely at home. Seeing me return, she immediately fell down complaining. How can you go on strike over such a small matter? Don't, Brandon and I need to eat. My son didn't care at all, saying, if she doesn't cook, then don't cook. Grandma, these days we've been ordering takeout. It's very delicious, especially the fried chicken. My mother-in-law choked up, her face twisted in anger. I looked at my son's ink-covered face, feeling no ripples in my heart. The house reeked of a foul smell, the trash can overflowing. I pretended not to see, wiped the dust off a chair and sat down, teasing, Mom, you should save some energy to teach your new daughter-in-law. I've been cooking for you all for over 10 years. Today we're divorcing, and you still won't let go. My mother-in-law angrily threw the towel, grinding her teeth and pointing at me, scolding, Sarah, no wonder Brandon doesn't want to follow you. You're so calculating, full of negative energy. I calmly said, I don't want custody. David had an affair. Should I take my son away so he and his mistress can live comfortably? Why would I be that stupid? Seeing my mother-in-law angry to the point of turning blue, I continued, keeping Brandon here to discuss them makes me happy. She glared for a long time, just couldn't find a reason. Finally, she beat her chest, scolding hoarsely, you devil. Sarah, you're taking it out on the innocent. Taking it out on our innocent Brandon. Aren't you afraid he won't acknowledge you in the future, won't support you? Even throwing my ashes away, not acknowledging me, not supporting me, what's that worth? My heart was cold as ice, not moved at all. I responded, Aunt Margaret, thank you all for cursing me in front of him all these years, belittling me. You're all good people, only I'm bad. Now as you wish, I've decided to be a loner. This grandson, I'm giving him away for free. No need to thank me. Then I turned back to the bedroom and called out, David Harrison, didn't you call me back for the divorce? What's the use of hiding? After a long time, the tightly closed door slowly opened. David supported Amanda Chen, whose belly wasn't showing yet. My mother-in-law hurriedly welcomed them, muttering, oh, be careful, my good grandchild. We absolutely can't have any accidents. My son clearly wasn't used to his grandmother's careful manner, uncomfortably throwing his phone. Grandma, you have a grandson already. It's just that big, who knows if it's a boy or girl. Amanda Chen gently smiled and coaxed, Brandon, I went to Hong Kong for a blood test. It's a boy. David lightly scolded, who told you to talk to Aunt Amanda like that? From now on, don't fight at home randomly. My mother-in-law immediately echoed, Brandon, you must protect your little brother well. Quick, pick up the things here. My son angrily kicked the coffee table, turned and walked away. Whoever wants to pick up can pick up. Whatever. Then he went into his room and slammed the door. David Harrison's face turned red with anger, disappointment showing in his eyes. My mother-in-law hurriedly placated Amanda Chen. He's still young. He just temporarily can't accept it. Once the two have a good relationship, he'll understand. Amanda's eyes reddened as she nodded obediently and sat down. But only I saw my son's jealous and vicious look when he turned to look at Amanda's belly. In my previous life, we didn't wait for Amanda to check if it was a boy or girl before I took my son away. I was afraid he'd see his father's face full of new joy. I knew my son had always been domineering and selfish, self-centered, and definitely wouldn't accept having a younger brother competing for affection. During the divorce, I remembered he was still young and couldn't bear to shatter his beautiful dreams. After all, I bore all kinds of bad names in the house. In his eyes, his grandmother was a beautiful, open-minded housewife who could even perform commercial dances with the Senior Square dance troupe. His father was elegant and good-natured, could make money, and gave him whatever he wanted. And now, strip away that fake shell. If we're going to be ugly, let's all be ugly together. Why should I alone bear everything, suffering through blood and tears? I've seen enough drama. I calmly looked at David Harrison, still leisurely asking, the property issue was negotiated properly last time. Why not just go to the Civil Affairs Bureau now? Amanda Chen beside him calmly said, Sister-in-law, which divorced couple doesn't discuss children and property? I frowned looking at David and my son. I thought everyone had already reached a consensus on this issue. What does Miss Chen mean? Amanda forced a smile and said against her conscience, I naturally want Brandon to stay. David can't bear to part either. It's just that as women, we certainly hope children stay with their mothers. I really didn't think sister-in-law could be so reassured. Reassured. This was threatening me. If I don't take my son, she'll mistreat him. I didn't care at all, waving my hand. You have experience raising a daughter. Entrusting him to you, I'm naturally reassured. Amanda was surprised. looking at David Harrison. David helplessly shook his head at her. I understood. Today Amanda didn't believe I truly didn't want custody, deliberately coming to test me. At this moment, my son came out to get water. Although pretending to be genuine, I knew he was eavesdropping on our negotiation. Amanda glanced at him, looking at me meaningfully. Sister-in-law, we're both divorced women with children. Let me be frank, it's better for children to be with their mothers. When I took my daughter, it was also very hard, but I still gritted my teeth and endured. I'm not advertising anything, just that ultimately fathers can't be as thorough as mothers. Brandon was raised by you from childhood. Are you really willing? Before I could speak, my son aggressively approached, pointing at Amanda. Aunt Amanda, why do you keep insisting on kicking me out? Didn't you say you liked me and wanted to be my mother? Amanda's face looked constipated. Her original intention was to instigate the relationship between me and my son, testing my limits. But she didn't know these words violated my son's interests. My son, because he couldn't live a happy, wealthy life with his father, hated even me, his birth mother, let alone Amanda. Sure enough, my son shouted, "You bring your daughter here to eat and drink well, then kick me out to suffer. What's your intention? If you're like this, I won't help you anymore." He stiffened his neck as if he'd caught Amanda's big weakness. I almost burst out laughing. My stupid son? Before Amanda coaxed and pampered you, because she was divorced with a child and couldn't speak carelessly. Now she has a child in her belly to rely on. Her confidence is enough. Amanda suppressed her embarrassment, not convenient to tear off the mask, coaxingly said, "Brandon, I'm not kicking you out. I like you, it's too late to like you. I'm just worried your mother won't love you in the future." My son looked at me with disgust. "Never mind, having you all like and love me is enough. Without her is fine too." Amanda heard this provocation and looked at me. I just shrugged at her. This provocative method had no effect on me. I even gave her a thumbs up. Ms. Chen, being such a successful stepmother, this is the first time I've met one. Admirable, admirable. David couldn't stand it anymore and stood up. "Nuff, Sarah, only today did I know how heartless and weird you are. Isn't it just that you don't want your son but want money?" I was cold inside instantly, thinking he must have heard some rumors. Then the next day, David found my gym class. After he saw me, first he doubted, not daring to confirm, then looked for a while. "Sarah, is it really you?" After confirming, his eyes roamed straight over me, that disgusting gaze lingering on my body showing surprise. Only then did I sweep away non-existent dust from my clothes and laugh coldly. Only then did he retract his gaze, saying strangely, "No wonder you don't want your son. After the divorce, you've been seducing men outside for a long time. Haven't illusional. Been to the psychiatric department?" I laughed coldly. He sorely said, "You've lost weight and become beautiful, even seducing Mr. Fisher. But people despise old women like you. There are many women in the company who like him." I confirmed this gossiper spreading rumors in front of William was him. I pulled him to a corner and asked loudly, "David Harrison, what exactly do you want?" "What? Ruin your good thing. You threw your son to me while you live comfortably by yourself." "No way." I took a deep breath, not wanting to waste emotions on this type of person. "Tell me, what do you all taking turns coming to find me want me to do?" Only then did David show his scheming, accomplished look, smugly saying, "Come home with me for a bit, I have something to discuss with you. You treat divorce as a joke. Why should I go home with you?" I angrily laughed. David had already prepared, taking out his phone to show me a video. The video transmitted piercing screams from a woman. "Get out, bastard. Die outside, don't come back." My pupils contracted as I grabbed the phone. In the video was the Harrison family living room, now a complete mess. A child on the sofa was crying heart-wrenchingly. The plump woman didn't care, grabbing the man's hair while pushing him out the door and cursing, exactly like a madwoman. The good-natured man begged for mercy. Wife, I was wrong. Let me look at the child, okay? He's crying himself to death. Get lost. Neither my child nor I need your concern." I couldn't watch anymore, my whole body trembling, hands and feet cold. "When did you install surveillance cameras at home?" I screamed. David still calmly said, "Sarah, you've broken down to the point of collapse. I have too many ugly videos of you. What do you think if I send these videos to Mr. Fisher? Would he still have feelings for you?" I tried hard to close my eyes, then said, "Fine, I want to see just how disgusting you all can be. Getting into David Harrison's car, I didn't say a word, silently looking out the window. I thought that being reborn, I had forgotten many things and didn't care. But seeing the blood and tears of the past, I still couldn't stop trembling. So weak I didn't dare face it directly. Others watching the video would only feel this woman was crude, sloppy, cold-blooded, ignoring the child, speaking without reason or culture. But they didn't know that was when my 5-year-old son had pneumonia. My mother-in-law came to help for one day, then made excuses to go dancing. David was busy with business all day. I called him dozens of times but he didn't answer. I alone cared for my constantly dry, coughing son day and night, running to the hospital, begging doctors and nurses who scolded me. I couldn't sleep at night, constantly worried and afraid my son would cough until he fainted. By the 4th day, David finally returned. My emotions immediately collapsed and exploded, resulting in that scene in the video. But this damn bastard had actually installed cameras to monitor me long ago. I lived in boiling water and burning fire while he silently spied, pretending not to know, secretly saving videos of my embarrassing, unbearable appearance. Until today, using it as a weapon to threaten me. This wolf-hearted thing, his crime wasn't just adultery. I was so angry my whole body trembled continuously. David suddenly touched my thigh in the car, his voice sly and greasy. "Wife, come back. After you left, I realized this home can't function without you." I suppressed my nausea and asked, "What about Amanda?" He forcefully pinched my leg. "After all, the baby is still small. She's older and the pregnancy is unstable. We still haven't gotten the marriage certificate." I couldn't bear it anymore and slapped him hard. "Scumbag." Arriving at the Harrison house, entering the main door was a foul smell hitting my face. My son and a girl about his age were in 2 rows playing games. The girl occasionally hugged my son's smelly feet. "Brother Brandon, you're so amazing. You must take me along to play in the future." Of course, I'm attacking domestic servers. Amazing, right? Margaret saw me arrive and deliberately said loudly, "Ah, Brandon and Hannah really get along, just like real siblings." Amanda cracked sunflower seeds on the sofa, urging Margaret, "Mom, it's too messy here. I can't even walk." Margaret tiredly huffed, waved the cloth and sat down. "Order. Sarah, from now on you come clean once a week and prepare food for a week. You don't need to pay Brandon's support fees either." Amanda laughed sharply. "I heard sister-in-law wants to accept Mr. Fisher's nanny invitation. He started looking for someone half a year ago. No one paid attention to you. With a mouth as clumsy as yours, that won't work." My son put down his phone, his face disgusted. "Really no prospects. I thought after divorce you'd change a bit. Didn't expect you'd still be a nanny for others." On the way, David Harrison, having lost face to me, deliberately stimulated me saying, "Just come back and do something for your son's sake. Our demands aren't much, just come once a week." I finally had a great awakening. Turns out the whole family wanted to continue exploiting my free labor. Margaret said unwillingly, "Coming 4 times a month, your 1,000 yuan isn't a loss. Right, compared to before when I was on 24/7, taking care of children, cooking and managing housework, earning 1,000 for this was indeed profitable for me." I didn't refute, just showed doubt asking, "Can't you hire a 3,000 yuan nanny?" Margaret's eyes evaded. My son casually said, "Changed 7 or 8 already. They can't work, won't do this, won't do that. Really don't know what a nanny has to be arrogant about." I suppressed my anger and asked, "Brandon, you're inviting me back to be a nanny serving your father and stepmother. Have you thought about my feelings?" He didn't care at all, saying, "You have to be a nanny anyway, might as well do it at home. At least no one will laugh at you. Don't go out and embarrass yourself." I swept my hair back. This selfish, cold-blooded son of mine really never disappoints. I sighed but said, "With my current value, you can't afford me. When you can pay 50,000 a month, I'll definitely come back." Amanda mocked my overestimation. My son widened his eyes. "You're worth that much." David threatened, "Even if you pass the application." I chuckled. "Then wait and see." After speaking, I didn't waste words, turned and left. Not only was the house dirty, but the people were dirty too. Looking at this rotten bunch, the family war would explode sooner or later, and I decided not to hold back anymore. Knowing David kept many surveillance videos of me, I decided to take the initiative to talk with William outside. After the formal interview, I had to let him see my strength first before considering. That day, there were 10 people in total for the interview, including young and beautiful overseas students. There was even one who could speak 5 languages. I was really lucky to have decided to enter this industry. The interview process went as smoothly as I predicted. Those younger and prettier than me couldn't do housework as well as me, afraid of dirt and tiredness. Those older than me didn't have my education and knowledge. Moreover, my heart had no worries or attachments, allowing me to focus entirely on work with higher coordination than everyone else. William clearly favored me more. Plus, tutoring Emma's homework, frankly, I taught more clearly than her teachers, more interesting and engaging. What does Dad choose? Sarah is good at everything, can handle several people alone. William didn't answer immediately on the spot, just said we should go back and wait for news. The next day we met at the gym. I invited him to dinner after training. During the meal, I deliberately ordered a bottle of red wine. Alcohol makes people braver. I took a deep breath and asked, "Have you seen some videos of me? Manager Chen did send me some, but I want to hear from you." As expected, I drank a glass of wine, trying to objectively describe my history of blood and tears over 10 years at the Harrisons. My status, obsessed mother-in-law liked to use small favors to manipulate my son into despising me. My hypocritical husband liked to shift responsibility, preferring to advertise while oppressing his wife and child. My son had male chauvinism from childhood, looking down on his mother. You could say in over 10 years of marriage, I lived like a wounded beast, only able to helplessly roar and collapse. I wiped my tears, looked at William and smiled bitterly. Though pitiful and ridiculous, I really was once incomparably tough. I wasn't avoiding it. William was a very good listener. He quietly handed me a tissue and changed the wine to tea. I knew this was the gentlemanly manner he'd been taught. I thanked him for giving me the chance to complain about years of bitterness and exhaustion that made me cry speechlessly. I cried for about 10 minutes before I could speak normally. I didn't know if William ultimately accepted my excuse for declining, but being pushed to this point by them, I wouldn't let Amanda live well either. So I adjusted my mood, gritted my teeth and said loudly, "Mr. Fisher, I know being a mistress isn't a criterion for evaluating company employees. But Amanda first used business for personal revenge, and now won't accept my good fortune, invading my privacy, intending to force me back to be a nanny for their whole family. Mr. Fisher may not need me, but please carefully consider Amanda's character." I took a deep breath and also produced chat logs of Amanda and David's affair, including how Amanda, to please David, bribed the person in charge of Fisher Corporation's purchasing department, violating regulations by using David's agency products. This is the supplier's price list. David is a third-tier distributor. Amanda's actions have cost Mr. Fisher at least $3 million in capital over the past year. William took the documents, glanced through them, then gently put them down. His fingers tapped lightly on the table, his sharp eyes suddenly asking, "Sarah Mitchell, when you recommended yourself to me before, was it for this moment?" I looked at him in disbelief. After a long time, I reacted. William thought I approached him purposefully, using this to revenge my ex-husband and mistress. I clenched my fists, a burst of cold anger rising. "Mr. Fisher, I understand your misunderstanding of me. But what I want to say is, first, I accept and respect my profession. This is my life plan after careful consideration, and I've sweated and worked hard for it. Second, the grievances between me, David Harrison, and Amanda, my part ended the moment we divorced. If they hadn't pushed me like this, you wouldn't have heard today's words." William looked at me for a long time, then suddenly teasingly asked, "Even if I lose millions every year?" I thought about it and still honestly answered, "Yes, I won't say do whatever you want. I'm just a woman who knows how to protect her own interests, not a messenger of justice. If the Harrison bunch doesn't provoke me, why should I create enemies? After all, cutting off financial paths is like killing parents. Moreover, Fisher Corporation losing millions yearly is due to internal management oversights. Mr. Fisher's improper personnel use. So he doesn't need to thank me now." William laughed. "Don't be nervous. This originally had nothing to do with you. Right, how could a successful businessman's layout be so small?" I smiled. "As long as Mr. Fisher doesn't misunderstand me. I've understood everything clearly. Thank you for your frank sincerity, Ms. Mitchell." William ended with this sentence. My heart was still anxious. After all, no employer would use a housekeeper with unstable emotions who's prone to outbursts at home. But I wasn't discouraged because I'd prepared for the worst. That night I began carefully preparing resumes to send to well-known family management companies. I couldn't pin my hopes on just William. William's revenge was swift and ruthless. First, Amanda was fired and received a lawyer's letter from the company demanding compensation for losses caused by her abuse of power during her tenure. Only then did I learn she used her HR manager position to recruit relatives. I wasn't the only one. The briber wasn't just David Harrison. The compensation alone could dig up Amanda's roots, even potentially leading to imprisonment. David was naturally disqualified as a supplier, though the main guilt was on Amanda, not enough to damage his business foundation. Amanda returned to the Harrison home grayly to nurture her pregnancy. I unexpectedly received William's acceptance notice again. To express apology for misunderstanding me, he proactively increased my salary by 10,000 yuan. My income was now 60,000 yuan per month, but at this point, I hesitated. Could I really work with such a deep-thinking employer? But this old fox proactively made peace with me. Sarah, the salary I pay you might not be the highest, but the interpersonal relationships in my household are definitely the simplest you can find. This point I really couldn't refuse. For a newcomer like me, a single-father family like William's was definitely the best service target. Of course, I didn't disappoint William either. Understanding my strength and positive attitude reassured him. Happy cooperation. I smiled. The next time I saw my ex-husband's family was at the Fisher Villa area. Security informed me there was a family arguing outside wanting to see me. At this time, I was fortunate I chose William as my service target. During the day he worked. Emma went to school. At noon I delivered lunch to him. Afternoon time I could flexibly arrange, just in time to properly meet the Harrison family. I deliberately wore designer clothes and shoes, carrying a branded bag. Right now I basically didn't lack money to spend, because everything at the Fishers was handled by me. After joining the homeowners' executive committee, I got to know many wives and their housekeepers with resources. I successfully introduced several business deals, then used the divorce money to buy shares in a small family management company. Many clients in this villa area were mine now. I didn't hide any of this from William. He also supported me building my own business, as long as it didn't affect my work with him. After a 3-month probation period, Emma's academic performance improved significantly. He proactively revised the contract, changing my service term to 10 years. He wasn't afraid I'd run. This mutually trusting relationship also made me very happy and devoted. As soon as I reached the gate, the security captain immediately greeted me. "Ms. Mitchell, someone claiming to be your son is making noise trying to find you." I apologetically went toward the Harrison family. David enthusiastically came toward me. "Wife." He evaluated me hesitantly, calling out. I laughed coldly. "Or you still asleep?" He laughed awkwardly and pushed our son forward. "Come on, Brandon, call Mom." My son stammered forward, disbelief in his eyes. "You're really my mom." I looked at my son. His whole body was fat, with dark circles under his eyes, greasy face looking like he hadn't bathed for days. His clothes were wrinkled, looking very spiritless. I didn't say a word. He frowned and muttered, "Aren't you working as a nanny for rich people?" I corrected, "It's senior housekeeper." "You're grown up now, your vision should broaden." Amanda stroked her now prominent belly, sourly saying, "I heard your salary is now 60,000, much higher many senior managers." Margaret gasped, raising her voice, 60,000. At this time the security captain said to Amanda, "You look 10 years older than Ms. Mitchell, yet you can say sister." I burst out laughing. Amanda touched her face, looking at me angrily but not daring to speak. Without the halo of a senior manager, without savings, she had long lost her qualification to be arrogant. Margaret's eyes bulged as she took a big step forward, her voice sharp. "Making 60,000 a month and only giving us 1,000 in child support, that won't do. You must give us at least 50,000. A woman like you only needs to keep 10,000 at most." That attitude of taking it for granted made me unable to help laughing out loud. For the first time I knew that the mother-in-law who oppressed me for over 10 years was actually so shamelessly greedy in her bones. Did she think that, because I was once a daughter-in-law, because she once temporarily controlled me, she could control my life? She was choked speechless by my words, her eyes rolling as she grabbed my son and shamelessly said, "And there's Brandon. Even if divorced, you're still Brandon's mother. If you don't give your money to your son, who else would you give it to?" I smiled without really smiling, evaluating my son. Although he resented me, He still knew right from wrong. His eyes didn't dare meet mine directly, even somewhat cowering behind Margaret, softly echoing, "Give the money to Grandma to keep. I'll still acknowledge you in the future." I coldly said, "No need. I'm no longer your mother." He was stunned, ashamedly shouting, "What are you proud of? A nanny making 60,000 a month, treating others like fools. You're being kept, aren't you? I don't want your dirty money." This child was truly beyond saving. David touched his nose, trying to please. "Jessie, don't overthink it. Brandon is secretly praising you for being beautiful. I also didn't know you were so capable before." I was too lazy to talk with them, looking at Margaret. "The money I earn has nothing to do with you. The divorce agreement clearly states I'm not allowed to visit. Don't use Brandon to threaten me." I warned David again, "And you, don't come before me to disgust me." Wasn't that slap in the car painful enough? Amanda's face changed as she pinched David's ear, loudly asking, "What do you mean? Seeing your ex-wife has money and became beautiful, regretting it. You ruined my job, now want to abandon me." "No way." David hurriedly cried out in pain, explaining. Margaret saw I had absolutely no intention of negotiating, pulled my son and pushed him in front of me. "If you don't give money, take Brandon with you. Don't dream of living comfortably alone. We don't care." Clearly wanting to play dirty. I looked at Brandon with amusement. "Is this what you all discussed?" His face was ugly, his eyes spinning several rounds, suddenly grabbing my hand and crying, "Mom, I'll go with Mom. Dad and Grandma completely don't love me, only like the brother in Aunt Amanda's belly. When he's born, I definitely won't have good days." I silently stared at him, quietly watching him perform. He vigorously wiped his tears, pointing at Amanda and loudly saying, "Mom, she's an ugly woman who talked bad about me behind Grandma and Dad's back, scolding me. Whatever good food there is, she only gives it to her daughter. She secretly gives pocket money to her daughter. I'm living miserably at home. Brandon, you've changed." I looked at him with amusement. He looked at me with a vague expression. "You've learned to act, but I still prefer your previous, spirited appearance. Don't make me look down on you." Being seen through by me, his face flushed red. The hand pulling mine also loosened, but his mouth still unwillingly shouted, "Mom, what are you saying? I don't understand." I ignored him, turning to tell the security captain, "Call the police. They're here to extort and blackmail me." I coldly warned, "Don't use Brandon to threaten me anymore. Do you treat the divorce agreement as a joke? Push me further and I'll make David Harrison's small company unable to operate." David immediately broke out in cold sweat. "The Amanda matter was your doing?" I chuckled. "She's full of flaws herself. Did she need me to scheme?" David gritted his teeth, pointing at me. "Sarah, well done. Let's see how long you can be proud." Seeing the security captain had called the police, he hurriedly pulled the family away. Brandon didn't achieve his goal and was exposed by me. He suddenly rushed forward and pushed me hard. "You vicious woman. Go die. I really don't acknowledge you anymore. Why don't you just get run over by a car? What are you if not a stinking nanny? Still putting on airs. Having a few stinking dollars and acting so great. Disgusting." I momentarily didn't notice my high heel twisted, a sharp pain struck. I gritted my teeth to endure, coldly saying, "As long as you don't come near, you won't see me." The family angrily left. Although I had long decided to give up my son, today I deeply realized he was deeply poisoned person in that house. From childhood, like silent rain soaking the ground, his hatred for me had been carved into his bones. Just now crying and complaining was just because he felt it beneficial. Once he saw through it, he immediately changed face. Those curses were his true feelings. I could only say Margaret and David's education from childhood was too successful. But in his criticism of Amanda, he probably wasn't lying. I would wait for the day when the complex family conflicts of this second marriage completely exploded. William returned and heard about this matter, contemplating for a while. "Do you want me to teach David a lesson?" He was a big boss in the industry, occupying the top position of the food chain as Party A. With just one word from him, a second or third tier distributor like David absolutely couldn't survive. I shook my head. After all, he's the child's father. Besides, if he really goes bankrupt, I'd have to take in that hot potato Brandon. I'm not that stupid. He nodded and intimately asked about my injured foot. "How's the injury? Should I call the family doctor?" I hurriedly said, "It's fine. A child's strength is small, it doesn't affect anything." I was even afraid he'd blame my ex-husband's family for causing trouble. Emma beside us suddenly said something that stunned me. Dad, do you like Aunt Sarah? Actually, I also think Aunt Sarah is prettier than those coquettish women outside. William laughed and knocked the girl's forehead but didn't deny it. I was shocked and quickly changed the topic. Being with William. Haha, forget it. This old fox. After this dispute, the Harrison family was quiet for a while. During summer vacation I traveled abroad with Emma. Upon returning I heard shocking news. Amanda had given birth prematurely. Brandon was also suspended from school and had to enter a juvenile detention center. David's business was also retaliated against by Amanda, making it impossible to continue. The whole family was now barely surviving, arguing daily until chickens flew and dogs barked. Amanda really had no choice but to beg William to return to the company. Only then did I learn the truth of the matter. As her belly grew bigger over time, she no longer paid attention to and pleased Brandon like before. Her daughter and Brandon quarreled over games. She was caught in the middle, inevitably unable to achieve good results from both sides. The house was in chaos. Margaret and David's solution was to escape outside to avoid harassment. No one watched Amanda closely. She favored her own daughter, making Brandon even more uncomfortable. The cause of the incident was the tight household economy. Amanda couldn't meet Brandon's demands for takeout and game skins. In anger, he wanted revenge. Taking advantage of the day Amanda went for prenatal checkup, he violated Amanda's daughter. Amanda returned furious and fought with Brandon. Brandon had long hated this unborn brother who would compete for affection. He deliberately kicked Amanda's belly, causing her premature birth. Margaret and David quickly returned to handle the aftermath, but it was too late. Amanda not only lost her son, her daughter also cried, wanting to leave home. She went crazy and insisted on calling the police to arrest Brandon. The baby boy was gone. David naturally sided with Brandon, threatening that if Amanda called the police, he would divorce. The former loving couple who used all means to be together now completely turned against each other. Amanda went all out to send Brandon to juvenile detention as she wished. She gritted her teeth in hatred, saying, "He ruined my daughter's whole life. I want him to carry a criminal record for life." William, considering she was a company veteran and her daughter's situation, introduced her to a regular employee job, but she turned and glared at me fiercely. "It's all because of you, Sarah. If you had taken Brandon away before, David and I wouldn't be like this. My daughter wouldn't have been bullied. You heartless mother. Why do you get to live gloriously and beautifully now? Your son committed crimes all because of you." She screamed heart-wrenchingly. "Are you satisfied with this outcome?" Though I was frightened inside, what qualification did Amanda have to criticize me? Brandon committed crimes, the law will punish him. But what about you? I extremely despised her, disdainfully saying, "Before, to marry David, you deliberately had your daughter please their whole family, especially Brandon. A teenage boy and girl under one roof at puberty. As a mother, did you think about protecting your daughter?" I felt sorry for her daughter. I'm the victim. What right do you have to play with me? Because you cleared obstacles for your comfortable life. She glared at me in shock, suddenly like a thief caught red-handed, her face alternating between blue and red. William still stood outside observing. At this moment, disappointment showed in his eyes. He shook his head. "Amanda, everything is your own doing. Even now you still feel it's others' fault. I have to say your character is really worrying." He immediately wanted to withdraw his offer. I shook my head. "Forget it. Consider it atonement for my son." Even if Amanda was more miserable, I still couldn't sympathize with her. It's just that she's divorced without a job. What about her daughter? Now you don't need to pretend to be kind. Amanda showed no remorse, glaring at me hatefully, struggling to leave. I sat in the room for a long time until William knocked and entered, asking with concern, "Worried about your son?" he asked kindly. I looked at him and smiled dazedly, shaking my head. "No, I even feel this outcome is very good." He raised his eyebrows in surprise. I didn't care how he'd look at me and said frankly, "If I had fought for custody, I think today my outcome would be more miserable than Amanda's. At least she's still alive, while I'd be devastated." William looked at me for a while, sat down beside me and suddenly asked, "Sarah, about Emma's suggestion, how do you feel?" I only paused for a second before understanding his meaning, then teasingly asked, "As Mr. Fisher not wanting to pay an extra 60,000 monthly nanny fee, William didn't know whether to laugh or cry, helplessly shaking his head. Of course not. Someone worth hundreds of millions like me. How could I care about that? It's just based on the reason for divorce you mentioned before. I guess you must want to find a wife who puts family first. But I don't. I already have my own career. Being your housekeeper is just the beginning of my career plan. Jesse, for us two old foxes to take a step forward is really very difficult, isn't it? William sighed regretfully. I turned my head, silently acknowledging. After so long the goodwill, tolerance, care, and the way he kept testing me, I saw it all. But as he said, for our relationship to take another step was really difficult. I had just escaped from a nanny marriage and couldn't jump in again with nanny status. Forget it. If it really doesn't work out, I'll pay a large contract violation fee and leave. After sorting out emotions and reason, I went to the juvenile detention center to see Brandon. He had lost a lot of weight, his eyebrows less fierce, more dejected. His whole person was dazed and confused. Bruises at the corners of his mouth and arms were vaguely visible. He had clearly suffered quite a few tricks from the older kids here. Seeing me, he couldn't help but approach, tears welling in his eyes, his face incredibly joyful. When his hand was about to touch me, he timidly withdrew. I indifferently looked at him. Though pitiful, this current face was much more pleasing than his previous greasy appearance. Mom, he called softly, seeming especially guilty and uneasy, like a stray puppy finally finding its owner but afraid of being rejected. I was wrong, Mom. Scold me. He lowered his head deeply, wringing his hands hard. My heart was cold as ice, not moved at all. I calmly said, no scolding. I don't care, you're not worth it. Instantly his tears fell. Mom, I really know I was wrong. Only today did I realize only Mom loves me most. It's all Grandma and Dad's fault, always speaking badly of you in front of me. I didn't mean to not want Mom. I chuckled. He looked up with tear-filled eyes, confused. I wiped away the tears and smiled. Brandon, you really are whoever has milk as mother. Although this father is a bastard and scumbag, in the end he still confronted Amanda for you. I shook my head in disappointment. I have to admit, the son I gave birth to is naturally a wolf-hearted ingrate. Reform well. I turned and left without any attachment. Such an ending can comfort you, Sarah, you who died of resentment in the previous life. I was completely liberated from the shackles that had restricted me for half my life. Today's Sarah fears no future.